My name is Arden Vale, 35 years old. My feet drag along the apartment hallway carpet, soles sticking slightly on the threadbare runner, and for a second I let my head rest against the cool metal of my door. 12 hours at Westfield Grill. My back throbs, my jacket smells like fryer oil and citrus zest, and the only thing I want is the hush of my own kitchen. Then I hear it. Laughter, glass clinking, bass thudding from my Bluetooth speaker inside. The key pauses midair. Someone is in my home. I slide the key in, the lock clicks, and the door swings wide to a scene I wouldn't tolerate in any kitchen, let alone mine. 6 strangers drape themselves over my couch and chairs, coats flung on the floor, shoes kicked off, one of them already barefoot on the coffee table. Music rattles the picture frames. Through the open layout, my eyes find the only place that matters, the kitchen, and something inside me drops. Wine bottles sprawl across the counter like toppled bowling pins. Sticky rings print the marble. A lime rolls in a slow circle, smearing pulp. Arden! Lillian's voice slices through the noise. She bounces toward me, wine sloshing dangerously near the rim. You're home early. Early? My voice stays sand flat. It's nearly midnight. She laughs, a practiced little trill, and pivots as if to showcase the room. We're just unwinding. Don't be so tense. I walk past her without answering. I'm drawn the way a chef's knife is drawn to a whetstone, inevitable, magnetic, toward the disaster zone that used to be my sanctuary. My hand reaches reflexively for the knife magnet. The space where my hand-forged santoku hangs is empty. I find it on the cutting board, the steel resting in a puddle of something sweet and sticky. Someone used my blade to hack limes directly on the marble. I lift it and see the hairline crack running through the handle. What have you done? It comes out quiet. The kind of quiet that makes line cooks straighten. We're just having a little fun, Artie, Lillian says, using the childhood nickname she dusts off whenever she wants to be forgiven before she's even named the offense. It's not a big deal. That knife was a gift when I graduated culinary school. The edge catches a shard of green peel as I twist my wrist. It doesn't touch marble. Ever. Relax. She waves a hand and swans back toward her friends. It's literally a knife. A crash pops behind me. Copper measuring cups spilling like coins. My gaze drags across the counter and stops. Grandma Miller's handwritten recipe book lies open, pages swelled and wrinkled, stained an ugly red by wine. The ink of 3 generations bleeds into watercolor ghosts. I touch a corner and it tears under my fingertip, wet and fragile. Breath stutters. 6 months ago, my parents stood in this kitchen and said they needed a spare key. For emergencies, Dad had smiled. We're family. Don't you trust us? I hesitated. Their hurt expressions did what they've always done. Bent me. Everyone out, I say. No rise, no shout. A flat command, sharp as heat. Conversations snag. A man I've never met laughs, then stops when he sees my face. Lillian's eyes flick to her audience. Arden, come on, it's only 11. You're being... This is my home, my kitchen. I gesture to the knife, the book, the sticky ring on marble. My things you've destroyed. Destroyed, she scoffs, flipping her hair. It's a little mess. Out! Muttering. Eye rolls. Scrape of chairs. One guy grabs a half-full bottle of Cabernet and aims for the door. I pluck it from his hand without looking at him, set it on the counter, and hold the door open. The strangers file past, sheepish in the bright overhead light. Lillian lingers, chin tilting. I'm calling Mom and Dad. Old habits prowl in the shadows. Apologize. Smooth. Be the responsible one who makes everyone comfortable at your own expense. Then my eyes land on the cracked handle of Chef Thomas's gift, the one he handed me with a quiet, a cook's knife is her voice. The voice in me that always whispered compromise goes silent. Another voice unclenches. Call them, I say, and when you're done, you're leaving too. Her smile falters. Lillian has never met this version of me. No jokes, no softening, no folding in half to fit someone else's comfort. You can't kick me out. I'm your sister. Watch me. I guide her toward the hallway with the same steady hands I used to plate a dish. The door shuts on her protest. The music stops. The silence that remains isn't empty. It hums. I back against the door and stand there, palms braced, eyes on the ruin of a kitchen, where every object has always told me who I am because in this room, Unlike at our family table, my decisions matter. By morning, the text pings begin. Dad, dinner Sunday, pot roast, be there. The menu choice makes me smile without humor. Pot roast means he wants something. It's his version of a contract envelope. Familiar dish, familiar script, pressure hidden under gravy. I spend Saturday coaxing stains from Grandma's pages, setting them to dry like a triage nurse. Some salvage, some don't. I buff the knife with oil, examine the fault line again, and set it aside. A hairline crack is the kind of thing that spreads if you ignore it. I order a new lock set. Sunday evening, the house smells like my childhood, pine cleaner and roast simmered too long. Crystal glasses line up like soldiers. Lillian lounges at the table, scrolling. She doesn't look up. Mom breezes in with a smile that tries too hard. Dad stands at the head of the table, the salesman light already in his eyes. Arden, he booms, just in time. I slide into the same chair I've had since I was 12. That's when I see it. A fat manila folder by Dad's water glass, deliberately placed. Red flag. My napkin is still folded when Dad clears his throat. We've been talking about an opportunity. Let her eat first, Mom says, already vibrating. No time like the present, Dad replies and taps the folder. You've always wanted to work in a real restaurant. I work in a real restaurant, I say. He waves that away. A line cook job isn't what I mean. I'm talking about something you can build. A legacy. Lillian finally glances up, a smile curving like a hook. Dad pushes the folder to me. Inside, printed listings bloom with his notes. Foot traffic. Least favorable. Corner visibility. All ready. All chosen without me. For me? The cold feeling slides in under my ribs. For the family, Mom corrects, taking her seat. Your culinary expertise with Lillian's business acumen. Exactly, Dad says, thrilled. You handle the kitchen. Lillian will be the manager and face of the operation. Customers, marketing, investors. I never said, you're excellent at cooking, he says, voice warm in the way a hand can be warm while holding you down. Managing is Lillian's strength. This way, it's fair. Fair lands like a slap. Lillian slides her phone across the table. Look at my Pinterest board. Hundreds of ideas. We've been planning for months. The oldest pin is 4 months ago. The restaurant has a name, a color palette, a breakfast menu I would never write. My name sits on mock logos like garnish. There's more, Dad adds. He pulls another paper. We started the loan application. Just need your signature since you're the chef. My signature, my credit, my failure if it all collapses, not my vision. We told everyone at church, Mom says with bright cheer. The girls' restaurant. Everyone is thrilled. When were you going to ask if I wanted this? I ask. And I don't mean the restaurant. I mean this life where my skills are fuel for someone else's engine. Dad's eyebrows rise in theatrical surprise. This is how family businesses work. We all have our roles. Don't you want us to be close again? Lillian says softly. Like when we were kids? Your easy bake oven, remember? I remember being told to cook while she collected the Monopoly money. I push back my chair, the scrape loud in the polished quiet. I need air. On the porch, the evening breathes cool against heat climbing my neck. Footsteps behind me, lighter than Mom's, gentler than Dad's. Aunt Margaret, quiet as thread. She joins me at the railing. I figured this might happen, she says. They've been buzzing. Did everyone know but me? Her sigh is a stitch being pulled. They've always used your gifts, then handed the spotlight to Lillian. Your mother did similar to me when we were girls. I sewed her prom dress. She told everyone she made it. The parallel clicks into place like a lock turned. I don't know what to do. Your talent is yours, she says, touching my sleeve. Don't let them convince you otherwise. And if you need a bed for a while, I have a guest room. A place to stay. The words feel like a lifeline thrown across a river I've been treading alone. Back inside, the plates are cleared, replaced by a pen poised on top of papers at my place. Dad's smile softens like butter left out too long. Remember, your mother and I co-signed your lease, he says, casual as weather talk. We'll need your signature tonight. The threat isn't even disguised. Mom squeezes my hand. We've already told the investors to expect both of you next week. I look at them, people I know better than I know my own sleeping patterns, and see strangers who built walls around me and called them hugs. Aunt Margaret meets my gaze from across the table and gives the smallest nod. I steady. I need time, I say. Don't overthink it, Dad replies. This is what families do. Support. Support sounds a lot like submission when the pen is in their hand and the liability is in mine. I slide the folder back, close it gently, and stand. In my pocket, my phone buzzes with a number I don't recognize, but I don't answer. Not here, not under these lights. As I walk down the hall, the word fair echoes, and with it, the image of a hairline crack in a knife handle. Ignore it, and it spreads. Address it, and you might save the blade. I lock my car, sit in the dark, and finally check the missed call. A voicemail unfurls, a crisp, professional voice introducing herself as Valerie Chambers, assistant to Chef Thomas Anderson at Ember. They receive my resume. Chef Anderson would like to see me tomorrow morning if I'm available. The streetlight turns my windshield gold. Something in me that's been starving lifts its head. I press play again, just to hear the offer land clean. Then I start the car. The sound a quiet, defiant answer to every script I've ever been handed. A new lock will go on my apartment door in the morning. I will hold a knife with a fault line and decide whether to repair or retire it. And maybe, just maybe, I will walk into a kitchen where my voice is the sharpest tool I own. Sunday evening is wrapped in the scent of pot roast before I even pull into my parents' driveway. Mom's specialty. She's been cycling it for decades, usually when Dad wants to butter someone up, or when a family decision has already been made, and tonight is just about presenting it as inevitable. My stomach tightens before I even step out of the car. Their house, perfectly trimmed hedges, symmetrical shutters, and the porch light left on in careful welcome, looks like a photograph pinned to a real estate board. But to me, it's a stage, one I've been dragged onto again and again. Inside, Dad stands at the head of the table with that salesman glow already switched on. The wine glasses sparkle, the polished oak shines, and the thick manila folder sits near his place like a guest of honor. Lillian is curled in her chair, scrolling her phone, nails painted a shade so glossy it reflects the chandelier. She doesn't even look up. "Arden," Dad booms, spreading his arms as though he's presenting me to a crowd. "Right on time." Mom flutters from the kitchen, apron already smudged with gravy. "Sit, honey, sit. Pot roast will be out in just a minute. Doesn't it smell wonderful?" It does, but the smell makes me wary, not hungry. I slide into my old seat, the one carved into memory from every childhood dinner, and that's when Dad nudges the folder closer to me. "We've been talking," he says, leaning forward, elbows on the polished wood. "An opportunity. Something that's been in the works for a while." "Let her eat first," Mom fusses, though her eyes are bright with excitement. "No time like the present," Dad says, as if pitching a deal that can't wait. He taps the folder. "You've always dreamed of having your own restaurant." I fold my napkin with precise corners. I already work in one. "A line cook is not what I mean," he counters with a dismissive wave. "I mean a place you can build. A family legacy." The word family lands like a hook in the back of my throat. Lillian finally lifts her gaze, eyes glinting. She doesn't speak, just smirks like she knows what's coming. Dad pushes the folder across the table. I flip it open. Real estate listings spill out, each one neatly marked with his handwriting. Excellent foot traffic. Lease favorable. Corner lot. My chest tightens. These aren't ideas. They're plans. For me? The words scrape my throat. For us? Mom corrects gently, laying a hand over Dad's. Your culinary skills. Lillian's natural people skills. Together you'd be unstoppable. Exactly. Dad beams. You handle the kitchen. Lillian will be the manager, the face, the business. Customers love her. You'll never have to worry about that side. I never agreed. You're brilliant in the kitchen, he cuts in. But management isn't your strength. This way, it's fair. Fair. The word slams against my ribs. Fair was me studying while Lillian skipped classes only to hear later she was finding herself. Fair was me buying my own knives while she borrowed my money for weekends out. Fair has always meant I carried the weight while she twirled in the light. Lillian slides her phone across the table. Look, I've been collecting ideas for months. On the screen, her Pinterest board bursts with restaurant interiors, glossy menu mock-ups, uniform designs, all pinned under the title, Our Restaurant. The earliest pin is from 4 months ago. My name isn't anywhere, but the implication is clear. This was decided long before tonight. I swallow. You've been planning without me. It's preliminary, Mom chirps. There's more, Dad adds, pulling another sheet from the folder. We've already begun the loan application. Just need your signature since you've got the culinary background. My name, my credit, my liability, but not my vision. We've told everyone at church, Mom says brightly, pouring more wine. They're so excited. The girls working together. It's all anyone can talk about. When were you going to ask if I wanted this? My voice is barely more than a whisper. Dad's brows lift in mock surprise. Arden, this is how family businesses work. We each play our part. Lillian tilts her head, voice syrupy. Don't you want us to be close again? Like when we were kids? Remember your easy bake oven? The memory cuts. I remember her laughing while I cooked plastic cupcakes under a light bulb, and she snatched the fake money, declaring herself the boss. I remember realizing at 8 years old that I was cast as the labor, she as the star. I shove my chair back. I need some air. On the porch, the night air slides cool down my throat. Behind me, the door opens and closes softly. Aunt Margaret's step, lighter, hesitant, joins me at the railing. I figured they'd spring it tonight, she says, her voice low. I glance at her. You knew? They've been bragging for weeks. Investors. Lillian's big ideas. They've always done this to you, used your talent, handed her the applause. Your mother did it to me too. I sewed her prom dress. She told everyone she made it herself. The words hit like déjà vu, patterns repeating, generations training daughters to believe their skill was nothing without someone else's sparkle. I don't know what to do, I murmur. She touches my arm. Your gift is yours. Don't let them convince you otherwise. And if you need a bed, I've got a guest room. The offer lodges in my chest, warm and frightening all at once. When I step back inside, the table has shifted. Dinner plates cleared, the loan papers front and center at my seat, a pen gleaming on top. Dad leans back, smile easy as a shark. Remember, your mother and I co-signed your lease. That means you're already tied to us. Mom pats my hand. It's for your own good, darling. Investors want to see unity. Both sisters together. Lillian tosses her hair, looking smug. We're already confirmed for next week's meeting. Just need your John Hancock. I look around at these faces, so familiar, yet suddenly foreign. They've written my future without asking if I wanted a role. A heaviness presses on my ribs, but Aunt Margaret's nod from across the table steadies me. I need time, I say, pushing the papers back gently. Don't overthink it, Dad replies, tone sharpening. Families support each other. That's what this is. Support. The word curdles. Support is not theft dressed as generosity. Support is not pinning me into their plans, then using guilt as cement. I stand purse in hand. I'll think about it. Dad's smile falters. Mom's eyes flicker with warning. Lillian smirks again, certain I'll cave. But when I step out into the night, the air feels cleaner than it has in years. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I don't answer until I'm in the safety of my car. The voicemail plays. Hello, this is Valerie Chambers, assistant to Chef Thomas Anderson at Ember. We received your resume last month. Chef Anderson would like to interview you tomorrow morning if you're available. The silence after her words is deafening. Ember, the city's most anticipated restaurant. A place where chefs dream of staking their names in fire and steel. I replay the voicemail twice, my pulse pounding. For the first time in a long while, a door I want, my door, is opening. And suddenly, the manila folder, the loan papers, the word fair, echoing around the family table, they all feel smaller. Much smaller. The kitchen at Ember gleams like a cathedral of steel and flame. Every pan is polished to mirror brightness, every counter spotless, every movement measured with reverence. It is nothing like the chaos of my family's dinners, nothing like the invasion of my own kitchen last week. Here, the silence between sounds feels intentional, a language of discipline I've longed to speak fluently. Chef Thomas Anderson himself stands across from me. His reputation precedes him, a perfectionist with a brutal eye, yet respected for fairness. He watches as I prep scallops, his arms folded, no wasted words. The weight of his gaze is heavier than the 12-hour shifts at Westfield, yet steadier, cleaner. I dice. Shallots. Pulse racing. Hands steady from years of muscle memory. Butter foams golden in the pan. Sage leaves hiss as they touch down, and the aroma fills the space like a promise. I plate carefully, setting seared scallops beside a sweep of puree, finishing with a drizzle of reduction. Anderson takes one bite. His face reveals nothing. Then his eyes shift, the smallest flicker. Your flavor balance is extraordinary. It's 2 sentences, yet they feel like a validation I've never heard at home. Not, you're good, but not, you'll need your sister's charm. Just extraordinary. He leans on the counter. I need a head chef, someone who understands harmony on a plate, creative control of the menu, proper salary, benefits, your name featured. For a moment, I think I've misheard. Head chef? I've interviewed 12 others. None of them had your instinct. He slides a contract forward, clean, waiting. Take the weekend. Think about it. When I leave Ember, the city feels different. The streets hum, not with exhaustion, but with possibility. My hands tremble around the contract. The papers weight oddly heavier than any manila folder my father ever shoved toward me. This one is mine. But the high doesn't last, because when I reach my apartment, someone is already waiting. Lillian. She leans against my door like she owns it, a portfolio tucked under her arm, nails clicking on her phone. Finally, she huffs, brushing past me before I can object. She drops fabric swatches onto my coffee table. Banquet linens. I'm thinking burgundy velvet, but Mom likes charcoal. I set my keys down with deliberate calm. Lillian, when did I ever say yes to any of this? She doesn't look up, rifling through her papers. We have 3 bank meetings next week. Dad says your credit score will really help with terms. Lillian, stop. My voice carries an edge that surprises even me. She blinks, finally noticing. What? I haven't agreed to open a restaurant with you. Her brows knit in mock confusion. Then she laughs, sharp and practiced. Of course you have. We've been planning for months. You've been planning, I correct. I've been avoiding. She rolls her eyes. Oh, please. What's your alternative? Slinging scallops at Westfield forever? This is your chance to actually be somebody. The words sting, but not for the reason she thinks. They sting because just hours ago, Chef Anderson had told me the opposite, that I already am somebody. I steady my breath. I interviewed at Ember today. Lillian snorts. Right, and I'm opening for Taylor Swift next week. I pull out my phone, scrolling to the email that landed just as I left the kitchen. I hold it up, screen glowing with Chef Anderson's words. We'd like to formally offer you the position of head chef at Ember. Salary and details attached. Her face drains of color. You're kidding. No. Her hand trembles as she shuffles her swatches back together. But our restaurant... Your restaurant, I correct. Built on my name, my liability if it fails, but not my choice. Her mouth opens, shuts. I've never seen her truly speechless before. The silence stretches until the weight of it feels like a victory. That night, Aunt Margaret calls. Her voice is steadier than mine. Your mother says you're being difficult. I brace for guilt, but instead she says, good for you. I know a business attorney who can help you formally decline involvement. My treat. The words break something inside me, like a window opening in a stifling room. I pour out everything, the invasion of my kitchen, the destroyed recipe book, the manila folder, Chef Anderson's offer. She listens without interruption, then says, your father pulled the same thing with your mother years ago. Used her nursing license to secure his first dealership loan. She had no authority, just liability. History repeating itself. Patterns etched deeper than even I realized. The next day at work, word spreads faster than broth boiling over. My sous chef, Miguel, overhears me on the phone with Valerie from Ember, confirming a second meeting. His knife halts mid-slice. They want to use your credit? That's fraud waiting to happen. By lunch prep, the whole kitchen knows. Protective fury buzzes in the air. Denise, the pastry chef, hands me a spare key. If they try anything again, you've got a couch at my place. The line cook offers his brother's locksmith services. Change your locks, Arden. Today. Don't wait. I do. By afternoon, new keys rest heavy and solid in my palm. I spin one on my finger, marveling at how something so small can shift the balance of power. That evening, my phone vibrates endlessly. Dad, Mom, Lillian. Their voices ping through voicemails, each one laced with urgency, disguised as concern. Investors are waiting. Don't ruin this for us. Think of the family. But I'm already thinking of something else. The weight of the Ember contract in my bag, its clean lines promising a future that is mine alone. For years, I thought standing up for myself would feel like burning bridges. But as I lock my door behind me with a brand new key, I realize it feels more like crossing one. Tuesday evening. My parents' dining room feels less like a home and more like a boardroom dressed up with china. The oak table gleams, every fork and glass aligned like soldiers waiting for orders. At the center, a thick stack of incorporation papers sits as bait, a Mont Blanc pen gleaming beside it. Around me, chatter ricochets. Dad beams at blueprints he slaps with his palm. The contractor says we can start renovations next week. Mom clasps her hands, eyes shining. Church friends are already booking the private dining room. Imagine the Christmas banquet, Richard. Lillian tosses her hair and soaks in congratulations from neighbors and distant relatives gathered as witnesses. Her voice drips with delight. Our dream is finally happening. I sit quietly, hands folded, watching. They don't notice. Or maybe they don't care. My silence has always been interpreted as compliance. The graphic designer, some college friend of Lillian's, flips his laptop around. Here's the logo. On the screen, Lillian's name swirls in elegant script, front and center. Beneath it, in tiny serif text barely larger than a disclaimer, reads, Kitchen by Arden. The room falls into a hush, as if everyone is bracing for me to cry grateful tears. Dad clears his throat. Just need your signature, honey. Then we can toast properly. He extends the pen toward me like a coronation scepter. I look at the pen, then at each face. My mother's anticipatory glow, my father's forced confidence, Lillian's smug expectancy. The walls around us seem to lean in, urging me to fold the way I always have. But something inside me is different now. A week ago, I touched a knife cracked by misuse and realized that ignoring a fracture only lets it spread. I slide the pen back toward him. I won't be part of this. The silence is instant, shocking. Then Dad laughs, brittle. Of course you will. Don't be dramatic. This is family legacy. I've already accepted a position at Ember, I say, my voice steady despite the adrenaline pounding in my veins. As head chef, last week. The quiet that follows is shattering, like glass breaking in slow motion. Mom's hand flies to her chest. Head chef? At someone else's restaurant? That's nothing compared to owning your own. Her voice trembles with both disbelief and rehearsed disappointment. Dad shakes his head. This is just a phase. You'll regret it. Lillian slams her palm against the table, the smack making the wine glasses rattle. You can't do this to me. We've already invested so much. Invested in what? I ask calmly. A business I never agreed to? Her voice rises, shrill. You're jealous. Admit it. You hate that for once. I had the idea first. No, I reply. I hate that you had the idea on my back. Dad's jaw tightens. He pulls out his phone and dials with theatrical outrage. I'm calling Uncle Robert. He needs to hear how you're abandoning your sister's dream. At that moment, my own phone buzzes in my lap. A text flashes. Team's excited to have you on board Monday. Chef Anderson. Below it, LinkedIn notifications light up. Culinary classmates congratulating me on the new role. Reality. Proof. I slide the Ember contract from my bag and place it on the table. The clean white paper gleams beneath the chandelier. I can't legally enter another arrangement. Conflict of interest. Dad's face reddens. But the lease is in your name, I finish for him. So is the loan application. All commitments you made without my consent. For the first time in years, he has no script. Mom's eyes glisten. After everything we've done for you? You mean everything you've done with me, I correct. Lillian's mascara smudges as she glares at me. What am I supposed to do now? Her voice cracks, not with anger this time, but desperation. That's not my problem to solve. I push my chair back. Her breath hitches. But you were always the responsible one, the one we could count on. The words, meant as a guilt lash, only make my spine straighter. Yes, I've always been the responsible one, and tonight responsibility means refusing to carry their weight. Enough! Aunt Margaret's voice cuts through the tension as she strides in without knocking. She sets her purse down firmly, her eyes sweeping the table. Have any of you even tasted Arden's food lately? She's brilliant, and all you see is what she can sign for you. The air shifts. The room that once belonged entirely to my parents now feels split. I'm not alone at the table anymore. Dad scowls, caught off guard. Mom fiddles with her napkin, eyes darting. Lillian crumbles back into her chair, mascara streaking. I stand, gather my bag, and slip the Ember contract safely inside. I won't be manipulated into sacrificing my future for a business that was never mine. The words hang in the air, heavier than any pen stroke could be. As I walk to the door, Dad calls after me, his voice smaller than I've ever heard it. You can't walk away from family. I turn, meeting his eyes. I'm not walking away from family. I'm walking toward self-respect. The room holds its breath as I leave. Aunt Margaret's footsteps follow, her arm looping through mine when we reach the porch. You did it, she whispers. Outside, the night feels cleaner, freer. My hands should be shaking, but they aren't. They're steady, solid. Sometimes, refusing is the most powerful yes you can give yourself. The doorbell rings at exactly 7 o'clock on Sunday evening. Too punctual to be casual, too rehearsed to be coincidence. Through the peephole, I see them all. Dad rigid as a statue, Mom smoothing her cardigan with nervous fingers. Behind them, Lillian dabs at red-rimmed eyes, playing her part in some unseen script. But it's the figure leaning on a cane that makes my breath catch. Grandma. They've brought her as their final weapon, their nuclear option. I open the door slowly, my expression neutral. This is unexpected. Dad wastes no time. We need to talk about what you're doing to this family. His salesman cadence is already on. Grandma reaches for my hand, eyes cloudy with confusion. Everyone's so upset, Arden. I don't understand what's happening. Please, I say gently, stepping aside. Come in. They file into my apartment, but the space feels different now. New locks gleam on the door. Security cameras watch from discreet corners. Furniture rearranged to suit me, not them. This is no longer their playground. It's mine. Mom's eyes dart around immediately. You changed the locks? I did. I guide Grandma to the most comfortable chair and then gesture toward the kitchen island. Sit down. I have something prepared. On the counter waits a tasting menu I plated earlier. Seared scallop with brown butter, wild mushroom risotto, braised short rib with reduction, a small salad of bitter greens, and a citrus tart. 5 plates, crafted with precision, lined like evidence. Dad waves a dismissive hand. What's all this? My work, I answer simply. Please, try it. Lillian scoffs, arms folded tight. We didn't come here to eat. But Grandma takes a bite of scallop, closes her eyes, and hums softly. Extraordinary, she whispers. Her cane rests against the counter as she reaches for another bite. Mom fidgets with her fork. It's nice, dear, but we need to discuss. I'm not finished. My voice cuts clean. From beneath the counter, I pull out a folder of my own. Thick, heavy, prepared. I place it between us and open it wide. Evidence, I say. Dad's brow furrows. What are you talking about? I slide photographs across the counter, stills from security footage showing Lillian and her friends pouring into my apartment at midnight, bottles in hand. Another shot of my chef's knife lying in a puddle of syrup, the blade dulled. My recipe book soaked in wine. 27 unauthorized entries in 3 months, I say evenly. Noise complaints filed with my building manager. Property damage, all while I was at work. Mom's lips tremble. Family doesn't need permission. Family does when it's fraud. I slide the next document forward, a copy of the loan application bearing my forged signature. Dad stiffens. That's forgery, I finish. Punishable by law. Lillian shakes her head wildly, mascara streaking. We only did it because you wouldn't cooperate. You were supposed to help me. Help? My voice sharpens. You wanted my name as collateral, my labor as free currency, my kitchen as your playground. You never wanted me. You wanted what I could give. The silence is jagged, broken only by Grandma's fork against the plate as she keeps eating, unbothered. I place my house key on the counter. No more emergencies. No more unannounced visits. My boundaries are non-negotiable from this point forward. Respect them or don't be in my life. Your choice. For once, Dad is silent. His jaw works, but no words emerge. Mom stares at me like I'm a stranger. Then Lillian bursts. You've always been the favorite. They bragged about your cooking while I had nothing. Do you know what that's like? Her voice cracks, shrill, desperate. Mom starts to protest, but Grandma sets her fork down with a decisive clink. Her voice cuts through the tension like a blade. Enough. The room stills. Richard, Eleanor, she says, using their names, not their roles. You've used this girl shamelessly for years. I've watched it, and I'm ashamed of you both. My parents exchange panicked glances. This was not in their script. We should go, Dad mutters, standing abruptly. Mom rises too, tugging Lillian by the arm. I'm staying, Grandma declares, folding her napkin neatly. Arden and I have catching up to do. The door clicks behind them, and the apartment exhales. The air feels lighter, freer, almost holy. Grandma reaches for my hand across the counter. Your grandfather would be so proud. He never let anyone take his work for granted either. Her eyes soften. She opens her large purse, unwrapping something from cloth layers with care. The gleam catches my eye before I see it fully. A chef's knife with a worn wooden handle, the steel still sharp, perfectly balanced. This was his favorite, Meg, she says, pressing it into my hands. I've been saving it for the right moment, for the right Miller. The handle fits into my palm as though it's been waiting for me. Balanced, solid, honest. Thank you, I whisper, running my finger along the spine. Grandma lifts her glass of water in a quiet toast. Family patterns can be broken, Arden. Sometimes the greatest act of love is setting a boundary that everyone must finally respect. The knife gleams under the light, not as a weapon, but as a legacy reclaimed. And for the first time in years, I feel truly at home in my own kitchen. 6 months later, the rhythm of Ember's kitchen beats in my bones like a second pulse. The ovens hum, the blades sing against cutting boards, the air glows with heat and precision. And for the first time in my life, I feel not just present in a kitchen, but alive inside it. Tonight, my team works around me like a finely tuned orchestra. Miguel stirs a reduction until it gleams like velvet, Denise pipes pastry with patient artistry, and the new line cook sets scallops on the pan with the care of someone who knows mistakes. Here are not forgiven easily. They've risen to meet the standards I set, and I've risen to meet theirs. Chef Miller, Marcus, my sous chef, calls. That writer from San Diego Cuisine is back. Says your autumn tasting menu deserves another feature. I nod, plating lamb chops crusted in sage. 4 months into this role, and critics already whisper my name. Not Richard Miller's daughter, not Lillian's sister, but Chef Arden Miller, standing on her own merit. The satisfaction is quiet, steady, nothing like the frantic approval I once chased at my family's table. Here, every dish speaks for me, and the response is undeniable. Later that week, I returned to the culinary school where I once stumbled through emulsion techniques under my father's impatient sighs. Tonight, I teach a small evening class. A student frowns as her sauce splits, shoulders tense with shame. I step beside her, gentle. Take your time, I say, showing her the slow wrist motion. Rushing only breaks it. Her eyes widen as the sauce pulls together, smooth and golden. The relief on her face cracks something in me. The recognition that I am breaking more than my own patterns. I'm making space for others to learn without humiliation. Walking home, I realize the truth. The cycle didn't just stop with me. It changed direction entirely. At Sunday dinners now, things are different. Not perfect, but shifted. Dad actually looked at me last week and nodded after I mentioned Ember's award. Saw that in the paper, he said, his voice carrying something I never heard before. Respect, however reluctant. Mom surprised me by asking about one of my signature reductions. Not to pass the knowledge to Lillian, not to twist it into credit for herself. Just a question. Simple, honest. Small steps, but steps nonetheless. And then, one Tuesday morning, a text from Lillian arrives. 4 words. I was wrong. Sorry. I stare at the screen, unsure if it's bait or breakthrough. But when she suggests coffee downtown, I agree. We meet in a quiet cafe where the hum of espresso machines fills the silences we don't know how to bridge. She fidgets with her napkin, not meeting my eyes at first. I've been riding your coattails my whole life, she admits finally. It was easier than finding my own way. The honesty stuns me. Her voice wavers as she slides an envelope across the table. Inside, an acceptance letter to a hospitality management program. And I got a junior manager job at a small bistro. Entry level, but it's mine. I look at her, really look. For the first time, I see not the smug opportunist who invaded my kitchen, but a younger sister finally standing on her own unsteady legs. Good, I say softly, and I mean it. Weeks later, she shows up at a gathering in my apartment, this time not with strangers or demands, but with a plate of her own homemade crostini. They're uneven, the bread too thick, the topping sliding. But her effort is earnest. The texture's close, I tell her, demonstrating how to slice thinner. Her eyes light, not with entitlement, but with gratitude. Around us, the energy is different. My colleagues mingle with Aunt Margaret, who sips wine with quiet pride. Grandma samples every dish, humming approval at each bite. The air is not heavy with tension, but with possibility. For once, this kitchen feels filled not with violations, but with connection. Cooking here now brings a peace I never knew was possible. The walls no longer echo with invasion. They hum with ownership, with boundaries, with respect. When a young line cook at Ember confides in me about her parents pushing her into a business she doesn't want, I tell her my story. She listens wide-eyed, then exhales like a weight has been lifted just knowing she's not alone. My boundaries become her permission to draw her own. Late one night, I spread plans across my counter for something I once thought impossible, my own restaurant. This time, every sketch, every note, every dream is mine. And when Lillian stops by, she doesn't assume involvement. She simply asks, "How can I support you?" That simple question, one she never asked before, means more than any apology. The knife Grandma gave me gleams under the pendant light, balanced and ready. It rests beside my notes, a reminder that legacy isn't about what others demand of you. It's about what you claim for yourself. My phone buzzes again. A text from Lillian. Got the promotion. Thanks for showing me how to stand on my own. I smile, fingers brushing the handle of the heirloom knife. 6 months ago, I thought survival meant shutting my family out completely. But maybe survival is only the first step. Growth is the rest, choosing what to let back in, carefully, on my own terms. For the first time, I see a path forward where love and boundaries can share the same table. And this time, I'm the one writing the menu. The hum of conversation fills my apartment again, but tonight it sounds nothing like the chaos that once shattered this space. No strangers sprawled on my couch, no wine bottles bleeding across the marble. Instead, familiar voices mingle softly, woven with laughter that feels earned, not stolen. Aunt Margaret leans in the corner with a glass of red, her smile as steady as a lighthouse. My colleagues from Ember Cluster near the island, swapping stories about service gone wrong and dishes saved at the last second. And in the middle of it all sits Grandma, cane propped against her chair, savoring each bite of the menu. I've prepared as though it were a gift just for her. She hums with every taste, her approval warmer than any critic's review. Still extraordinary, she murmurs, wiping the corner of her mouth. When the door opens again, it's Lillian. She doesn't sweep in like she owns the place. She pauses at the threshold, clutching a plate wrapped in foil, her posture uncertain. I brought something, she says, almost shy. She sets down a tray of homemade crostini, lopsided, toppings sliding, edges more charred than crisp. A far cry from perfection, but undeniably hers. The texture's close, I tell her, showing how to slice the bread thinner. Her cheeks flush, but this time with pride, not defensiveness. Around us, the atmosphere shifts. Where once there was rivalry, tonight there is tentative cooperation. She joins the conversation without dominating it, asks questions without assuming she knows the answers. For the first time, I see her not as my shadow or my saboteur, but as a sister who is learning how to stand on her own. Later, as the crowd thins, she lingers by the counter. I got promoted, she says quietly. Junior manager. Small place, but it's mine. Her smile wobbles but holds. Thank you for showing me what it looks like to fight for yourself. I study her face, the same one that once smirked across my ruined kitchen. But tonight, there's something new in her eyes. Humility, maybe even respect. Good, I say, and I mean it. After everyone leaves, I wash the dishes in silence, the steam fogging the window. The kitchen hums with a peace I once thought impossible. My parents still call before visiting now, a courtesy so small it feels monumental. Progress, however slow, is progress. On the counter, Grandma's knife gleams under the pendant light, its wooden handle worn smooth by decades of use. Every time I touch it, I feel the weight of his legacy, but also the freedom of having claimed it for myself. It no longer feels like a burden passed down. It feels like permission. Plans for my own restaurant spread across the table beside it. Sketches of a space where food and boundaries, love and respect coexist. This time, every note is mine. No hidden manila folders, no signatures stolen, no roles dictated. Just my vision, unfolding. And when I picture the future, I see Lillian not as a thief of my spotlight, but as someone cheering from the wings. Not involved, not entitled, just present, finally on her own path. Sometimes healing doesn't look like a perfect reconciliation. Sometimes it looks like a crooked crostini on your counter, offered not as proof of skill, but as proof of effort. Sometimes it's not about starting over, it's about starting fresh. The memory of that first night still lingers. The strangers in my living room, my sanctum destroyed, the recipe book bleeding ink. But tonight, I glance around the same room and see a different story, one where boundaries were drawn, where truth was spoken, where respect finally took root. I think about all the times I believed love meant bending until I broke. Now I know the truth. Love without respect isn't love at all. And boundaries aren't walls. They're the doors we build to let the right people in and keep the wrong behaviors out. My phone buzzes, a message from Lillian. Next week, want to taste the menu I'm planning with my team? I smile, shaking my head. Who would have thought? My sister, once my saboteur, now inviting me not as a crutch, but as a mentor. Growth, in her own uneven, stumbling way. I set the phone aside and pick up Grandma's knife, the steel catching the light, balanced, sharp, ready. In the end, the recipe for healing turned out to need one ingredient above all, truth. Raw, bitter, uncomfortable truth. Once I added it, everything else, the respect, the peace, the fragile reconciliation, finally began to fall into place. I wipe the blade clean, slide it into its sheath, and look around my kitchen, my sanctuary, my stage, my home. For the first time, the silence feels not like emptiness, but like possibility. And this time, the story is mine to tell.